So, is there a specific way to apply concealer if you're over 40? Well, it really does depend on your skin type because we all age slightly differently at different speeds, and it is also down to your skin type. But I'm going to be showing you today the best way to apply your concealer if you're in your 40s, because obviously that's when your skin starts to become a little bit less firm and you start to see things that you haven't seen before. So I'm really going to help you today with exactly how you should be applying it, what type of textures you should be using, and then also how to set it. So you're going to see this on myself. And by the way, I am mid-40s, so have a little bit of an understanding as to what it's like. Let's get started. I have already done my brows and I just have a little bit of concealer on my eyelids. The rest of the face is completely bare. So we're gonna get started. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do, because I'm giving you a few extra tips as we go through this, is use a kind of liquid highlighter underneath before we even go in with concealer and foundation. So let me just explain to you the order in which I'm gonna be applying things, because obviously kind of you've got one side, a group of people who apply concealer before foundation, then you've got a group of people who apply concealer after foundation. Now, what I'm going to be doing today is applying my concealer before foundation, because I personally feel like this is the best option if you are dealing with maybe kind of like fine lines, wrinkles, or that slight dryness that can look extra cakey after you put makeup on, because I want to show you how that can really give you a soft focus effect. Now, another struggle that I hear from a lot of people in their 40s is that concealer ends up just looking really cakey, and they apply it and it looks super heavy and it just looks really mask-like. So that's what I want to avoid today, and I want to show you how to do that. Now, when it comes to applying your skincare, apply your usual skincare, but obviously you want to make sure that you are using the correct type of skincare. So for example, if you have quite dry skin, you want to use products which are quite hydrating. If you feel that your makeup looks very dry after applying makeup, but beforehand it doesn't feel dry, you may still need hydrating products in combination with using different makeup products. So think about how the issues that, how does your makeup look when you don't like it? What are the issues that you have? And then we'll figure out, so you kind of work backwards, like, okay, it looks very cakey, so that might be down to the concealer we're using. Maybe we're being a bit heavy-handed with the makeup. We're not applying it in the right way, or maybe we're applying too much, or it looks super dry, like so dry that you didn't even realize your skin was that dry. Then it could be down to hydration, or it could be down to using hydrating skincare, but also using hydrating makeup as well, which is luckily something that we have access to today. That's the first thing. You want to figure out what it is that the issue is, and then you're going to figure out how to solve that problem. My skin is combination skin, so sometimes I break out. Mainly it's hormonal, so it'll be along the jawline and the odd breakout if it's time of the month. But otherwise, it's generally kind of, I deal with texture. It might not be as visible here, but it is something that I deal with, and it's probably more kind of close up, when I'm over analyzing my skin. But I do deal with kind of like obvious open pores, some pigmentation, like I have a lot of sunspots, darkness around certain areas. Also, my skin is obviously not as firm as what it used to be. It's definitely kind of like sagging a little bit more around the jowl area. So I like to do anything I can that would help me with the lifting, as well as obviously coverage and getting that nice flawless finish that doesn't look heavy. Because of the fact that your skin can end up looking dry very easily when you're in your 40s with makeup, that's why we want to really give it that glow. We want to give it that healthy glow so the skin looks as good as it possibly can. So what we're going to be using is a liquid highlighter all over the face before we even go in with concealer or foundation. I'm going to be using my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I'm using the shade 5 because I don't really have much of a tan at the moment, so this is where I generally use 5, otherwise I always use 6. I don't have any foundation on, I've only done my brows. I am literally just gonna apply this all over. I know it seems like a lot, and it's gonna look like a lot when I start blending it, but honestly, it looks amazing under foundation. So you're just going to blend this in. It's going to look super shiny, but it's fine. It's going to look amazing underneath foundation. Obviously, I would not walk out like this, so let's now apply concealer and foundation. Now, when you're working on skin which is a little bit kind of like more mature, but you're not kind of there yet, but you're getting there, you want to use a concealer which is not so thick and doesn't set so quickly. So you want something quite fluid, which is easy to build up in case you need the extra coverage, but you also don't want to go in with that first application and feel like, whoa, that's just too much now. So the best concealer, I feel, for aging skin or skin which is losing the elasticity and, you know, when you're dealing with fine lines and everything, is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. Now I'm going to use the shade Ginger because this, for some reason, I've said this before, I feel like the shade Ginger suits every skin tone. Like, why is it that it suits every skin tone? It's really weird. But you're going to let this dry down a bit. We want all of this to kind of dry down a little bit before we apply concealer because we don't want everything to kind of mix together. So you're going to leave this for a few minutes and then we're going to go in with concealer. So what we're going to do here is apply this to the back of the hand. And I feel like this is where people make the mistake of going directly onto the skin and then wondering why it looks so cakey. I don't mind going directly onto the skin with concealer. I personally do it all the time, but then I also am very kind of, I have a lot of experience with it, so I know what I'm doing. If you feel like nothing seems to be changing, then it could be down to the technique. So that's what we're going to do here. You've got concealer on the back of your hand. You're going to get a beauty blender which you have kind of wet and it's doubled in size. I just want to show you the normal size so that you can see the difference. Ignore what's on this, it's just blush. That is the same beauty blender. There you go. This is dry and this is damp. So you can see the difference. It needs to be like this because you want that extra kind of moisture in your sponge to be able to allow that concealer to really kind of like move around on your skin. Plus, if you do a dry one, it's just going to soak it all up. So you really want to focus on having a damp one. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to get this sponge and we're going to really buff this concealer into the sponge. You don't want to go directly on the skin and have a whole load of concealer, like a lump of concealer everywhere. You want it to be an even application. So this is where we're going to start on the under eye, and you're going to see how this is just going to give you the most flawless finish. So we're just going to focus on the under eye to give ourselves that coverage and also that lift. Can you see immediately we've got that coverage there, but it's not like super cakey because I've applied it in this way. It's diluted it, but it's also given me the coverage, but it's not cakey, it's not dry, it's smoothed it over, it's given me that airbrush effect. I personally don't feel like I need much more over that, so I'm gonna go and do the other side. So I've got a bit more on the back of my hand, and I'm gonna go ahead, buff it in, and then buff this into the under eye. And when I'm applying it, I'm just taking it up here because that's going to give me a bit of a lift on the sides of the eye, so it just helps to like lift everything. Now whatever's left on the sponge, you can take this over other areas, so like sides of the mouth. You don't need to cover the whole face with concealer, you just want to apply it where you feel that you need it. Now another thing I just want to add is sometimes when people apply concealer on the under eyes, they just stick to that area and then that's it. You want to make sure it blends into the rest of the face so it doesn't look so disconnected. So as you can see, I kind of went into the side of the nose, I've taken it up here, I've kind of spread it out a little bit so it doesn't look so kind of like just in that section. It looks like it's kind of, you know, flowing into the other areas really well. Now I do want to just sculpt my cheekbones a little bit. So again, I'm going to put this at the back of my hand. It's the same concealer, but just a different color. I'm going to get my Makeup by Mario F4 brush and the smaller side. I'm just going to buff into that dark concealer. You want to make sure that you're buffing it in well so that when you touch your skin, you haven't got a whole load of concealer there or color. So you'll see here that it's going to be quite diluted when we start to just give ourselves some cheekbones. So we've gone from the top part of the ear and we're going towards the upper lip, but we're not ever kind of like getting there. We're just fading it out as we get to the middle of the cheek. There you go. I feel like we've got some nice kind of definition there. We're going to do the same thing here. Now you can take this on the perimeter of the face just to kind of warm the face up and just give it some shape. So we're going to go underneath the jawline there. I'm going to apply my foundation now. This is my NARS Light Reflecting Foundation in Barcelona. I've just got one pump on the back of my hand. I'm going to get my damp beauty blender. I'm going to buff the foundation into the sponge so that there's an even coating of it. And now we're just going to buff it into the face. So start from the forehead and then work your way down. You don't want a lot of foundation, so you really want to make sure you've got the smallest amount. So we're going to go over the under eyes. If you apply foundation which is full coverage, you're just going to end up covering this whole thing up and it's just going to look really cakey. So you do want something that is kind of sheer to medium coverage. Can you see that we can still see that coming through, but it's just very subtle. It's not harsh. I want to add a little bit of blush, so I'm using my Milk Maker Cooling Jelly Water Tint blush. This is in the shade Fresh, and I'm using my Hourglass 15 brush. So I'm just going to go over this. This is like a hot pink, which I actually haven't tried before, so we're just going to apply this along this area here. Okay, so now this is where we want to set everything. I've got my powder puff, which is my Laura Mercier powder puff, and I've got my Huda Beauty Easy Bake in banana bread. I'm going to press into the powder. Now, you want to make sure you go into the palm of the hand and just spread out that powder on the powder puff. You don't want a whole load of powder. Everything you're applying must be kind of really pressed into the tool that you're using before you put it into your skin. So now this is where we're going to do the under eyes first. Now very quickly, while I've pressed that in my other hand, I've got my sponge. I'm just going to make sure there are no creases, so that any creases that have kind of developed there and the product's got stuck in it, I've got rid of it. We're going to press. So the first place you do is the under eyes so that it doesn't develop any creasing, and then you can go, you know, over the other areas. So I don't know if you've noticed, but everything we're doing, we are really focusing on pressing it into what we're using. That way you're going to get this really nice soft focus effect, and everything, there's nothing kind of piling onto your face. You're really making sure you're kind of buffing it into the tool that you're using before you buff it into the skin. Otherwise you just apply a whole load of makeup and you're trying to do the best that you can when you've already got too much on there. Now you want to dust everything off. So hopefully you can see that even, you know, when I turn my face, you can still see that kind of glow coming out. One thing you need to keep in mind, which I feel like a lot of people forget, when you set your face with powder, you're doing it so that it lasts all day. But you have to remember that that also means for the first hour, at least, your skin is going to look super matte. because you need to allow for your natural oils in your skin to come out. It's only after the first hour to an hour and a half, depending on your skin type, where you start to see that it looks a lot more kind of like settled in, a little bit more glowy and healthy. So if you really want your makeup to last all day, accept the fact for the first hour it is going to look matte, but that also means that it's going to last all day. So that natural glow will come out eventually. So I can see when I turn my face, I've still got that glow from underneath coming out, which I'm really happy with. I'm going to apply a little bit of mascara. This is my Charlotte Tilbury Exaggerize. I'm just going to do a quick lip in a minute as well, because I want you to see this whole kind of look and how this doesn't look cakey, and hopefully this is really going to help you to understand how applying your concealer in that way really does help the overall look as well. And just those added bits that I've shown you really do kind of make a difference with how your skin looks and just how healthy it looks. I am going to very quickly just contour my nose. So this is just my Sunstalker bronzer and my 200 brush. I'm just going to go along the sides of the bridge of the nose. I just feel like my makeup isn't complete unless I do this. I just do a little V here and then cut it off. Okay, I want to finish this look with a little bit of a kind of nudie brownie lip. So I'm going to use my Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in Iconic Nude. When you have brown skin, it's really hard to find the right type of brown lipstick that doesn't just blend right in. So this is one of my favorites. And also brown lipsticks can really wash out a brown face. I just feel like it can end up looking muddy. This is my Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in Catwalking. And it's like kind of peachy brown. I then blot. I then apply Anastasia Lip Velvet in Cool Brown. Just along the edges there. And then I just blend it in. But I keep it on the outside part of the lip. And then blot again, and we're done. Yeah, I like the fact that this lip is like brown, but it's not dull brown. So it still kind of adds a bit of color to my face, so it doesn't just, everything just doesn't just blend in. So that is how you apply concealer for over 40s. So hopefully that makes sense. You can see that all the textures that I've used are kind of very fluid textures, not overly cakey and heavy, and don't dry up too quickly on the skin either. That's another really important factor. You don't want products that self-set too quickly, because that can also end up making your skin look quite cakey and too dried out. So you want to use products that don't claim to be self-setting. NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer is amazing for older skin. So is the NARS foundation. Honestly, I just feel like if you apply it in the same way that I've shown you, you're going to see a massive difference with how your makeup applies, how it looks, how it settles on the face, and how it sets and lasts all day too. So you're not going to find that it looks too heavy and cakey and thick. You will find it looks a lot more soft focus. And as you can see, as I've done, I've applied foundation over concealer. Hopefully you've seen how soft focus it can look. And even by applying that liquid highlighter underneath, it makes all the difference because just the right amount comes through and your skin still looks healthy. It doesn't look cakey. So you want to do whatever you possibly can to help make it look as radiant as possible without looking greasy, but also lasting all day. So hopefully that has helped you today. Don't forget, I do have an online publication called the Beauty Breakfast Club, which is an online community, and there are loads of newsletters that you get. So you have 3 a week at least as a minimum. There are 2 options for subscription. One is free, which gives you access to most of the site, but the other is paid, but it is literally only the equivalent to getting yourself a coffee a month. So you might want to do that because it gives you access to the whole site, plus part of the community where we can all chat and a chat room with me, and I'd love to see you over there. I also do have another YouTube channel, which is my podcast channel. I host with my husband along with a few vlogs here and there. So I'd love to see you over there too. Everything is listed in my description along with links and any discount codes if I have them for you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care and I'll see you soon.